This episode is brought to you by our friends at Brookes Blooms, your all-in-one landscaping solution.
Brookes Blooms' three-step landscaping experience offers a seamless journey from design to construction and ongoing care, ensuring your outdoor space thrives year-round.
Visit brooksblooms.com today to embark on your landscaping journey, where every step is a step towards a vibrant and beautiful outdoor entertaining space. G'day everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Ads and Dunks podcast. As always, brought to you by the Ausamerican Aces and our wonderful friends at Brookes Blooms. Not only is it another episode, but this is a very, 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 very special week. As I have not said this, but it's Josh Dunkley 150 week. He's playing his 150th game this week. My name is Adam, and of course, with me, my best mate, Joshy Dunkley, who plays his 150th this week, which we cannot wait to pump this up all week. And hopefully there's a few highlight reels out there and Brado does some vision, which would be unbelievable. But firstly, welcome, mate, and it's good to see you again.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, what a welcome by you. It's obviously a nice week to be celebrating a milestone, but also plenty of other things to talk about. And yeah, happy to be here as always, mate.
Me too, mate. I know because obviously, you know, it's a Tuesday by the time we do the potty and we've played and we obviously talk pretty much every day, and I haven't mentioned it. So I reckon you probably were thinking, fuck, Adsy hasn't mentioned, 150. He's probably forgotten about me. But I was waiting to draw it out to welcome it onto the potty as the intro. So I did it. And, yeah, mate, I cannot wait to celebrate you this week. I will send you a nice message, and I'm sure you get a lot of support from everyone. And it's been quite a journey for you so far. You got a long way to go, but I know you obviously faced a little bit of adversity early days with, injury and, sometimes selection in your first couple of years. But your last 24 months, really, even 36 months have been unbelievable football. There's a best and fairest in there. There should have been an All-Australian. There's another grand finals, just playing unbelievable footy at the moment. And, I love the fact that you can play a milestone this week and hopefully get the win. Firstly, congratulations from me, mate. And, well done again.
Thanks, mate. Very kind words from you. And, I really respect what you've got to say all the time. And those words coming from your mouth really make me feel quite good, mate. So I really appreciate that. And, yeah, obviously there'll be a bit of love throughout the week too that comes my way. But, yeah, as always, I just focus on the process, mate. Look forward to another game of footy. And 150, it's a bit weird. Like, I feel like 100's big, 200's big, 150's sort of like in between. So, hopefully a couple more years and we can get to the double ton, but focus on this week first and getting that one done.
Yeah, a little bit on the milestones. I personally think I agree with you. 200 is probably when you start to get carried off, and 250 is definitely in 300. But the 150 is still a pretty significant milestone. I think that's where it's like, no disrespect to the 100 gamers and the 50 gamers, but 150 for me is when you start to, you've clearly built up enough of a resume. You've been around long enough. It's a pretty big milestone. I mean, I can't imagine what the stat is. And we're going early here because Brado's going to deliver this for us at the end of the potty. But I don't know what the stat is of 150 game players in the history of the AFL. So I know you're underselling it a little bit, but yeah, it's a great achievement. And as you said, hopefully there's a few more there. But we'll touch on that game a little bit later. How was your week, first and foremost?
Not too bad. We played Sunday, so had a bit of a longer week between podcasts. But yeah, it was a normal weekly routine for me. Nothing really changed. Obviously, the girls went away last week, so I was by myself, and then Tipper and I pretty much crossed over in the air. So they played on Friday night. We left Saturday morning and then swapped over. So she came home and I was gone. So I didn't do a lot. I went over to Kaiser's house for dinner on Friday night. He cooked me up a storm. So pretty happy with that one. And yeah, other than that, went to Adelaide, just cruised around there, caught up with a couple of mates, saw my uncle and little cousin there, played footy and then came back, mate. And that was really it. What about you? How was your week?
Firstly, it sounds like a nice week, mate. Pretty chill. My week was pretty good. It's always better, obviously, after a win. We obviously, we had a pretty challenging week in terms of, external pressure and whatnot, and the build up to our game was quite highly publicised, I suppose, because, the footy world wanted to see how we responded. So, the week was pretty good because I was just really looking forward to the game, and I didn't really do too much other than just really prepare myself to play for the week. So, normal routine for me, the 6-day breaks, just try and get my body feeling good. But mate, did not do much at all. We got an update. The only exciting thing in the week was an update on our horse Lordship. Which there was another update today, which is exciting, but he's going to have a jump out in a couple of weeks. So we'll make sure we get that on the potty and we announce that because I cannot wait. It's an understatement to say that I'm that excited for Lordship to jump out. I mean, the trainers promise the world all the time to every single horse, but we've got high hopes for Lordship. So that was probably the only exciting thing that happened last week for me.
Yeah, well, there's Lordship and then there's also Apollo Ridge, which
there is.
Blooms Cross Aces. So hopefully we've got a couple horses running soon, mate. That'll be cool. We do.
And I know Jay and Lath at the Footy Club they've had a couple of their jump outs and I know how excited they get. So now that we're close, mate, I cannot wait. Cannot wait to see how he goes. I've seen he's already in the early market for the Melbourne Cup and whatnot. So that's the expectation. That's the expectation we're setting, mate. We're setting a high standard, Melbourne Cup, Caulfield Cup, whatever it may be. But mate, I didn't really do anything too exciting. I mean, just really prepared for the game, and it was a really good game for us. In terms of the result and how we played. So other than that, mate, didn't really do much at all.
That's good. There's a couple of things I'll bring up later on that we had a bit of fun with throughout the week. I'll talk about them later, but a couple of talking points, man. I'm actually a bit surprised that bum video that we showed or that Brado cut up on Instagram didn't go more viral of you talking about your bum because it's still one of the funniest things you've ever said on here.
Well, it did at the club. The boys at the club had a really, really good laugh about it. Actually,
did they?
Quote from Doc, Taylor DeRay, he said, best legs in the business. I goes, why wouldn't you talk about it? So that is a quote from him, best legs in the business. So he had a great laugh about it. I asked Kimmy, I think I sent it to you, didn't I? Did I send it to you? No, I didn't. No. So I asked Kimmy that night. So after we spoke on the potty, I went and did some recovery in the water and I spoke to her on the phone. And without any context, I said to her, Kim, what's my best feature? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, physically, what is my best feature? And she says, oh, easy, your bum. So if we need to get her on here to vouch it, then we may just have to get her on here to vouch for it. So, but no, there was definitely, I agree. I thought there might have been a little bit more traction considering the TikTok video that went viral a few weeks ago got quite a bit of traction. I thought this one would as well, but the boys at the club had a really good laugh about it.
Oh, that's good. That's all I wanted to hear. So at least someone getting into you for it.
Hey, I didn't see the start of your game. I didn't see it. Plus, they didn't have you they didn't have the camera on you specifically. I just need to know.
Yeah.
Did you oil yourself up?
No, because, mate, I look for it. So I've remembered. So, before I ran out, we literally have a moment where you can sort of gather yourself and do whatever. And it's just came straight into my mind. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, I've forgotten about the oil. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I've got to look for it. And I'm looking around. There was none there. So I've probably got to word up one of the trainers.
You have to.
About it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think because Bonte obviously has the trainers worded up. But it was funny because when we were walking out to the centre bounce ride, it was Bont was just he obviously stopped and gets his oil put on his arms. Eddie was walking ahead of us, and it was me and Chili and I. And I turned to Chili and I was like, mate, see Bonte, I've told, this is as we're about to walk into the first centre bounce of the game. I was like, mate, Dunks has to do that tomorrow because we played on the Saturday, obviously. So he was like, oh, no way, really? So, well, I think what saved you then is the camera wasn't there. So hopefully this week for your 150th, how good would that be? 150, oil your arms, kick a goal. I reckon throw up the A celebration. I mean, I did that this week for my goal, and it was just natural instinct for me to do that. So what a week it could be for you, mate.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a big week. I'll have to do it. I've just got to do it. So, yeah, I'll run out there this week. If the camera's on me, you'll see it. If it's not, you'll see it. Because you know what? It actually is a little bit of a disruption to, like, if you get oil on someone's hand. So Isaac Rankin, for example, on the weekend, he had oil on, and I was on him at the first centre bounce, and I reckon I touched him, and I was like running when the ball got cleared. I'm running away trying to wipe my hands because he got oil on them.
Yeah, look,
so
I steer clear of the Bonty an early hug because I feel the same, mate. I know the feeling.
Mate, if I put it on, I won't be putting much on. That's for sure. It'll be bloody. It's probably worse for you than good.
I'll tell you one thing it does do. It smells good. So when we walk the centre bounce, when I walk out and get into our position, I know where Bonty is because I can smell the oil. At least it's really, really nice smelling oil. So that's what I would recommend. So to the trainers at your footy club or whoever's going to organise, maybe Jado can organise it for you. Make sure you get a nice smelling oil. But enough of the oil talk. Let's go into the games on the weekend. We'll review our games. Which game do you want to? Do you want to start with mine, obviously, because we played on the Saturday. It was obviously a great result for us. I think watching the game back, I've watched a little bit of the vision, and obviously probably you from a spectacle point of view, you could probably tell that, we were on real early, and our heat and pressure around the ball was what we'd spoken about, what we want to do for a long time. And, I remember a point in the first quarter when I came to the bench, we were in the exact same position as we were the week prior. I think we might have been 3 goals, 4 to maybe 1 or 2 points from Richmond. And I remember thinking, we're in the exact same position as we were against Hawthorn. Let's just kind of see where we're at. Hopefully we can keep going. And to the boys' credit and whatnot, we really stuck at it. And, I felt like it was a game where, not worrying about a result or worrying about whether we win or lose, just looking after how we wanted to play was what worked for us. And it did in the end. I mean, we had, what do we have? We had like 35 plus scoring shots. We probably could have kicked more goals. We left a little bit out there. And, in fairness to Richmond, they've got quite a few players out and obviously going through a really challenging time at the moment. And obviously they had a couple injuries on the weekend throughout their game, which obviously wasn't ideal for them. But when we bring that mindset, I like to think it doesn't really matter who we're playing against. We can, go out there and really enforce our game style. And I definitely felt like we did that from minute one right to the end of the game. I mean, perfect example of that is Liam Jones's couple of his efforts with, I think, 2 minutes ago in the game where, he's come from 50 metres away to smother or spoil the ball a couple of times to get the ball out of bounds, which is probably what we haven't seen consistently enough. So, the fact that we were able to do that this week, it took a little bit of pressure off, what the week was for us, considering there was quite a bit of pressure on us. And I feel like it's a really good platform for us to really launch into the next month of footy. And, beginning this week against, in my opinion, one of the top 4 teams in the competition in the Giants. So, very pleased with the game on the weekend.
Yeah, it was very good to watch. As you said, you could tell straight away that you were on right from the start because, the contests and the territory was just all in your front half. And it was, very, it's probably the best footy you've probably played for across the 4 quarters for the whole year as a group. So incredible, I wouldn't say incredible outcome, but also incredible response to, as you mentioned, all the media and stuff that you were copping throughout the week, and great to be able to stand up for Bevo too, mate. As I know you were on the record during the week saying that it's not his fault. It's as you talked about last week, and as I've talked about Fags, it's us that runs out there as players. We can't sit there and blame coaches all the time. At times, it's got to be our fault too. So we've got to actually go out there and perform, and you did that on the weekend. So it was very good to see. Your game, we've got to talk about your goal, and then we'll talk about your game because I know you won't talk yourself up, but were you having a shot?
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. So, no, I wasn't. I promise you, Joshy, I promise you I was not having a shot. When I was calling for the ball, I didn't think Chile was going to tap the ball down. I thought he might have grabbed it and kind of turned inside. So when I kind of noticed he was tapping it, I knew someone was on my back. So my thought process was I've just got to get this on my boot here and just kick it. There was no real aim. I just wanted to kick it and try and keep it in bounds. And, you know when you like kind of belly the ball. So I bellied the ball. When it came off my foot, I bellied it. So it didn't have the traditional bend where if it was a traditional banana, it would have like probably gone 30 meters out. So because I bellied it, it had like that backspin that like just kept it in line. And I remember I was like falling backwards and I fell over. And then, I just remember looking like, oh shit, that's a chance. And then, I just seen the Richmond guy on the line. I think it was Lost, and he didn't react to like spoiling. So I was like, you kid. And then, the boys were just going nuts. So no, I didn't mean it, not at all. But I'm glad it went in because, mate, I reckon I've kicked more points this year than goals, which has been quite frustrating for me. So the fact that I actually kick a goal like that, it's definitely one out of my ass and the biggest fluke that I've ever done in my life. But I'll take it.
Well, mate, you might have just kicked one of the goals of the year, if not the goal of the year, right there. So pretty good. Because the reason I asked whether you were having a shot was because I looked at like behind the goals vision, and Richmond were actually set up like they had all their numbers in the corridor. So I was like, had every right to have a shot anyway. So if people say, "Oh, you shouldn't have had a shot there," well, you can just tell them piss off. Like those boys, they were set up in the corridor, so I couldn't go there anyway.
Well, no, honestly, mate, I was never in my mind did I think of having a shot. I literally just wanted to, I don't even know what I was thinking. It was just to square the ball up. But as I said, because I bellied it and went in, it was just one of those days for us. But I want to touch on a little bit. I know you mentioned just before about the performance and whatnot. I think the most pleasing aspect for me is it wasn't like a one-man band, if you know what I mean. We weren't relying just on one player. I felt like, we had that many good contributors across the ground. I think, obviously, Bonte, you know what I get from Bont, one of the best players, most influential players on the ground. I think, Eddie Richards being able to adjust to being a midfielder now and coming in and playing the way that he's playing. I mean, not only this week, he's been that instrumental for us as a centre bounce player and a transition defensive-minded midfielder, which you can't have enough of, has been incredible. And I personally think it was the best game I've seen him played. And he's played a lot of good footy, Eddie. And, I think he had 10 clearances, a heap of inside 50s, but the quality of the inside 50, quality of his disposal, to be able to witness that up close was unbelievable. I think James Harms is another one, a guy that I think is extremely underrated, who adds so much experience and class and such a level head and calm head for us. And the fact that we can play him in multiple roles, and on the weekend he had a real, big lick of the ice cream, if you want to put it, with his 4 goals and whatever he had in terms of disposals. But the most pleasing aspect for me is that we were able to contribute in many factors, and boys were able to go out there and play some really good footy. And as you know, man, that when boys do that, the growth that they get and the confidence that they get going forward is enormous. So for me, that was probably the most pleasing aspect of our win.
Yep, and as you touched on, it's probably a good kickstart for the next month of footy that you've got too against some of the bigger teams and us as well up there. So look forward to that matchup soon. Your game, mate. Obviously, you didn't. I know you're not going to say much about it, but you're in arguably career best form, mate. You're flying this year. You're probably leading the best and fairest. You got 10 coaches' votes again. I know you talked about it a few weeks ago, like you've changed a few things, but how do you feel? Like for some people out there, when you're out there during the game and, you're getting a lot of the ball, how do you feel at the moment? Like, are you feeling really confident in what you're doing?
Yeah, I am. I definitely am. I just feel like I'm running the best I've ever run. And it's funny because I'm 31 and I've always been someone who prides themselves, and I don't want to, repeat myself as I always do. So I pride myself on, looking after my body and how I go out there and perform. And I feel like everything that I'm doing this year off field is really benefiting me and helping me, I reckon, go out there. And I think that's just been the biggest thing for me. My running is probably the best I'm running. And what I mean by running, I don't mean how far I'm running. I mean, my repeat efforts, my ability to be able to sustain high speed running and be involved more so defensively than offensively. And I think, from a mindset point of view, and I remember advice always given to me when I was younger, because Joshy, when you're young, or you probably don't know because you've always been a gun defensive midfielder, but when you're young coming through, you're never really taught defense. And what I mean by defense, I don't mean tackling. I mean, where you're running in transition, when you don't have the ball, what you're doing to stop them from moving the ball. And I remember always my coaches would tell me, you've got to get better in this area, get better. And, to be quite honest with you, my first, probably 8-9 years just weren't good enough. Like, when I first got to the Bulldogs, that was probably where I started to realize, or I wouldn't say prioritize because I always prioritized it, but I think I started to commit to it a lot more rather than inconsistently, having a good game where I'm transitioning well versus I'm not. And, as you get older, and now that I'm 31, like it's all I care about because I know at the end of the day, it's going to help us win. And that's all I want to do. So I guess to answer what you're saying in terms of why I'm, contributing is I think that's a big part of it. I feel like my mindset going into games, I'm not worried. It's funny because I'm not worried about getting the footy. Like I don't worry about, how many kicks and handballs I'm getting. I'm worried about how I'm positioning, what I'm doing when I'm transitioning, what I'm doing at centre bounce to help, whether I'm getting the ball or whatever it may be. And I just feel like I'm finding myself in really good positions. One, because my running's been, probably the best I've been for a while. And two, that mindset of having that. So, I just feel like it's all, there's a reason why it's contributing to my performance. But as you know, I'm a hard judge of myself and I only really judge myself when we win. So, hopefully, I can keep contributing in winning teams. So, it'll be a good challenge for us this week. If we can continue that form and I can continue, my form, I suppose, then that could help us go a long way to winning the game.
Yep. And as you just said, like part of the teaching process is showing younger players that, if you do work hard to get back and help out your defenders, more often than not, you're actually going to get the ball. So it's probably going to give you more opportunities to be involved anyway. So those patterns are really important. I love that you talked about it because it is something that you learn a lot more about as you go through your career. And, Riley Sanders, I saw his interview post his game on the weekend and, he had a lot of the ball, but he was talking about, what he's doing off ball and thinking about that now rather than just chasing the pill. So it's a great talking point and, very well said by you.
Thanks, mate. I think, just before we get into your game, I think it's something that could be taught a lot earlier to, I don't mean AFL level youngsters, like even like pathway program, like, 15, 16, 17. And I don't know what is taught there. And I don't want to obviously step on anyone's toes. I've got no doubt they do teach that. But I mean, like, whether it's behind the goal AFL vision of some elite AFL players doing it. I mean, Scott Pendlebury's been doing it for 20 years now, like players that are unbelievable at it, showing that and showing that you're right. What you just said is quite often you find yourself in a really good defensive position. So when the ball gets turned over, you often get used because, you're in a position to get the ball back. So, I definitely think it's something that is, can be prioritized a little bit earlier to younger guys coming through and something that, the really good midfielders, when they have that, which you obviously have had in your whole career, it makes them really stand out. So, it's a good point, mate. Your game, obviously you played the last game on the Sunday. I don't know is it your first draw? Have you ever played in a draw?
Never played in a draw.
Wow. I've played in a draw. They're very weird. Well, how'd you feel? I mean, you guys, I thought, I don't want to go early, but I thought you had all the momentum when you kicked those first 3 goals of the last quarter and you kicked a nice little soccer goal, which was nice. What's your wash up of the game? Obviously disappointed you didn't win considering it's a hard task going over there.
Yeah, disappointed, but I mean, you couldn't. Yeah, you go over there, and they're a great team, Adelaide. They're in good form. They just knocked off Port in the showdown. I mean, they're in good form. So we wanted to obviously walk away with the 4 points, but we got 2, and unfortunately didn't get 4, but got the 2, and went home. Not disappointed. I mean, you got to be more optimistic. We've lost a lot of boys through injury and whatnot, but I still feel like there's no excuse. It's our mentality is, we've got to make sure that the guys coming in now are just playing their role. So, we've lost a few soldiers, as I mentioned, but everyone that's come in and played their role, and to see Shadow Brain come on in the last quarter or third quarter, whatever it was, and have the impact that he had was really positive. So, yes, there are a lot of areas in our game, and you talked about it with you guys a few weeks ago, like probably turn the ball over a little bit in that area where Adelaide prey on. Like as soon as you turn the ball over, say 40 to 70 out from your goal, they'll just go coast to coast and score. So that's one of their big strengths and something that we'll look out for next time as well. So those little errors and, some retain release stuff and little things around the contests let us down. But other than that, I thought it was a really positive game and we gave ourselves a shot and didn't quite get over the line. But, the momentum we had in the last quarter, if you're looking at that, then, definitely probably should have ran away with it. But we didn't, and we'll learn from it and we'll keep moving on and look forward to this week.
Yeah, I think you summed up really well. I think in particular the fact that you're being able to blood some youngsters, and as you mentioned, Logan Morris, obviously one of those guys, and getting those boys in and letting them, exposing them to the level and actually playing really good footy. A lot of young boys are playing really good footy and contributing. Firstly, it's good for them. Secondly, obviously you look at you guys are the same as us. Are you 4 and 5?
Nah,
you're 4,
3, 5 and 1 now.
Oh, yep, 3, 5 and 1. I swear you one more game. I mean, what does it, off the back of this week? I mean, you could look at it. It could really deflate your momentum, or it could, again, not kickstart it. But I mean, you can look at it in a positive way, where you went to Adelaide and you were able to take on a team who's hard to beat at their home deck. They're in really good form. They're a very good team over there. I mean, how do you take that going into, not only this week, you've obviously got Richmond this week, but then the next month of footy, which is a challenging month of footy for you boys. And really, it's probably a make or break for a lot of teams, because at the end of the month of footy, I mean, it's halfway throughout the season. You probably know the teams that are going to make finals. I mean, how do you take that, I guess, momentum from a game from the weekend like you had on the weekend?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, last year we went to Adelaide and couldn't get the win. So you look at it in that regard and you're like, well, we've gone down there. We've got 2 points. It's better than what we had last year. So let's, take it and move on. And as I said, learn and look forward to what's to come. There's a lot of good challenges for us ahead and you guys are one of those. So really look forward to that. But yeah, I mean, the positive thing for us is, we had a really good performance against the Suns, disappointing against the Giants the week before in the second half, but then really good, strong performance against the Suns, undermanned, lost a lot of players. This week gave it a red-hot crackdown in South Australia, in Adelaide, at Adelaide Oval, and then we move now into Richmond. So it's a good building block for us to start trending back in the right direction, I think. So along the way, we're going to be blooding some new fellas too. So that's even better and brings new energy into the team, into the squad, as you'd know yourself. So, look forward to the next few weeks and seeing how we go.
Yeah, good answer. I can't wait to see, because even just looking early here, it is a big month of footy starting this week for you boys and us boys. So it's going to be interesting going forward, the results. One more thing on your game. Where'd you get the shiner from? Who hit you?
Oh, I think it was Saligo. It was a head clash. Actually, you know what's crazy? Did you know that they watch like the vision on the arc now? So if you get hit in the head and the arc spot it, they send the doctor out to you. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't.
So like I got hit in the head and the arc must have thought that, it could have been a concussion or whatnot. So at halftime, this was late in the second quarter, halftime, the doctor came up to me and he's like, mate, you've been spotted by the arc. Like,
no way.
How are you feeling? Are you all good? So you get asked all these questions. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's never happened to me before. So I think it's a new thing this year where they've brought it in, and I think it's great because the arc are obviously watching the game, but first time it's happened to me and I was like, yeah, it's crazy.
No one knew. You would have been like, no, I'm fine. Just let me stay out of here. I'm all good.
No, well, I didn't. I felt it initially as in like it felt like a little scratch, but then I obviously felt the lump and the head clash and whatnot, but it was it didn't rattle me at all. It was fine, but it probably looks a lot worse than what it actually felt like. Yeah,
it does look a bit purple, but I mean that's a good thing. The blood's coming out, so it wouldn't be you without a shiner. Well, that's us. Is there any? Well, there is. As you said you got a talking point from the weekend.
Yeah, I've got one for you. It's something I've noticed.
Yes,
noticed a little bit over the last few weeks watching games. What are your thoughts on watching your goal replay on the scoreboard?
I like it. Why? I've got no thoughts on it. I think it's elite. Why wouldn't you? What's your thoughts?
No, I just find it funny because you see, like, they show you on the player walking back to the centre bounce, and obviously the goal's replaying on the scoreboard. But you see some players like just sitting there, just admiring their work, and they're like, "Yeah, that's pretty good."
No, it's funny when you see. For me, it's funny when there's two things. So when you're walking back to centre bounce and you're like, or whatever. So I'm using me as a reference. When I'm walking to centre bounce and like say the camera's behind me, I'm kind of like walking like that. So I know where I'm walking, but I'm just walking, watching the replay. And secondly, when you're at centre bounce and you can see in the little camera down below, you might be able to see because the goal might be getting played and on replay on television. And then you see in the little camera, you see we're all huddled in at the centre bounce, talking about what the hits are and where we're going. And then you see me say I've kicked the goal. Everyone's like heads are in and my head's just out like watching the replay or like my eyes are up just watching the replay. I like it. I think it's because what sport? Tell me what sport like does that? Not many. I mean, does the NRL?
Nah,
because you don't really see many. Because a lot of times I see a try, and the boys just like they just head down, they just walk back, and the camera like comes out and just follows him. In the AFL, I think it's elite. I love it.
Yeah, it is funny. I feel like they should do like a little camera. So I think they did it in the Essendon game where they sent out a camera on field and it like gets right up close like the NRL do, and it films the guys, and you can sort of give it a little bit of a sally.
Well, I think they're doing. Are you talking about the one where like the camera comes out to the ground and like he's in that? Yeah, I think they're doing those for some of the primetime slots, which is pretty cool. I mean, speaking of celebrations, like Matt Guelphy celebration was the backstory behind that. Did you hear about the backstory behind that? That was incredible. I mean, that was the most beautiful thing I've seen. I loved it. All for it. And to be able to do stuff like that. I mean, we're seeing that, aren't we? We're seeing a lot of nowadays, we're seeing a lot of celebrations, like unique celebrations. I mean, if you look 10 years ago to now, like it's very much in our game where boys are doing celebrations.
Yeah, it is. It's well and truly back. That's for sure. I don't know if it was ever like this back in the day. But, guys are getting all these celebration ideas from international or wherever it might be and, doing them. So it's pretty cool.
I probably need to start thinking, and you do too, because my obviously go-to is just the double fister, and yours is like one hand is just screaming, celebrating. We probably need to come up with a unique celebration. Maybe what we do is we do a bit of research and we find, maybe an NBA celebration, maybe the James Harden Cook, or maybe do the too small one, whatever it may be. If we kick a goal, maybe whip one out and do it. But that would be pretty funny. You with the oiled arms doing an A celebration, playing your 150th, doing a James Harden cooking one. That'd be pretty funny.
Oh, could you imagine?
Yeah. The games on the weekend, they were pretty good. I mean, I don't know how much footy you watched. I imagine you would have watched a bit because you played on the Sunday. But, mate, the Thursday blockbuster, that was a ripping game. And just quietly, mate, I called that a draw, and it was 1 point.
Oh, you did too.
I called that a draw and I nearly got it. I thought about it, but that was a ripping game. I mean, Petrarca almost played probably the best game of the season, for, individual performance, that is. But, there's a lot of good teams that are really playing good footy. Port Adelaide won by 6 points against Geelong. Hawthorn, another really close win. It's been I feel like the teams are now starting. There are some teams that are now starting to kind of separate a little bit from the rest of the pack. I mean, Essendon's another team that, we clearly haven't had them in our power rankings that we do occasionally. But, mate, I feel like they've jumped into top 4 for me for just based off how they've been playing the last few weeks. I mean, their win on the weekend was as impressive as I've seen for any team, and the way that they're playing has been really good.
Yeah, they are playing really good footy. Whether they're top 4 in my rankings, I probably still have them out. I feel like they obviously a great win on the weekend, but if they can beat another, top 6 side, top 8 side, I'd love to see it. So going really well, and you can see the passion that their fans are bringing in. All Collingwood, Carlton, and Essendon, all 3 big Melbourne clubs are flying at the moment. It's great for footy, I think, because it's all the fans are getting involved and crowds are nuts, and it's just a good environment to be around.
Yeah, I think it's unreal. I mean, being here in Melbourne, you can sense that the aura around the big crowds. The big clubs that are playing really well, and it reminds me of when I was a kid growing up. Because in the early 2000s, so like the 2000, 2001, Essendon and Carlton and Collingwood were real big powerhouse teams having really, really, good years. So, you're right. One thing I do want to quickly touch on, which on a sad note, is obviously, Cam McCarthy, obviously Fremantle, and, I played with Cam at the Giants, and, he was a beautiful man, like great, great personality, was the life of the party when he'd walk in, and had an infectious personality and got along with everyone, and, had the challenge of coming over to Sydney and living away from his family and making some really close friends in Sydney. Absolutely devastated to hear of his loss, and my heart goes out to his his family and friends, and, the way that Fremantle as an organisation handled, the day itself. My heart goes out to them. If it was me, I don't know how I would have gotten up and played personally, considering such the loss that Cam is. And, I just want to send out my condolences and hopefully he rest in peace up there in heaven, because it's a sad day. It was a sad day for not only Cam and Fremantle, but the game, the AFL itself, because we've lost a great young man way too early.
Very well said, mate. Obviously, and I think I agree with you. The way Freo dealt with it, and you could see the emotion in, Nat Fyfe and Pearce's faces pre-game, like just insane how they got up for that game and played a pretty good game of footy as well. So, heart goes out to everyone involved, and we wish, obviously on his on a hopefully a happier journey up in heaven.
That's it, mate. One other thing as well, I didn't mention, and it's very, 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 very ignorant of me. Callum Ward played his 300th game, and we love pumping up the milestone games. So he played his 300th game, and mate, you're my favourite player, and you'll always be my favourite player till the day that I die, mate. You'll always be my favourite player. But Callum Ward, he is my other favourite player, and I've always told him that. And I obviously played 4 seasons with him, and one of the most competitive, hardest warrior that I've played with. And he's faced quite a bit of adversity of recent times with injuries. I know he obviously had a season-ending injury a couple of years ago, and the fact that he's been able to get back and play 300 games. Truly remarkable. I think there's only been 100, and Brado will know this, but I think there's only been about 103 players now. He's 103rd to play 300 games. And, the legacy that he's left at GWS will be as big as anyone's. When, 100 years down the track, when people talk about GWS Giants, they're going to be mentioning Callum Ward, as he was a founding member, captain, inaugural best and fairest winner, kicked the first goal for the footy club, just the true champion of the game, who to this day is still severely underrated. Will always be underrated because he obviously plays in Sydney, and there's a lot of good stars in the competition, but I think he's severely underrated, and someone who's a true champion of the game, and someone who I love playing with and now admire from afar. So massive congratulations for Wardy's 300th.
Yep. Unbelievable competitor, Wardy. I remember running into him a couple of weeks ago when we played against the Giants, and he's as hard as nails, as hard as they come. One of the best, as you said, one of the best players to have played the game, and will go down in the history books, no doubt. So congratulations to him as well.
That he will. Anything from the round you want to talk about before we do our tips? I want to do our tips preview this week's.
What else have I got? No, nothing else. Nah, that's all, mate.
Nothing happened. What was your prediction for the NBA?
OKC.
So they are currently now 2-2. Did you see that game today?
I did see that game today. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a good game. So it's 2-2, 2-2, 3-1, 2-2. So every series is 2-2 other than the Boston and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Are you changing your tip?
I still think Boston. Yeah, Boston they're going to be too good. I think the series that's really spiced up a bit is the Nuggets Timberwolves. That's going to be a good finish, I think.
Were you at all surprised with the MVP, with Jokic and SG? Did you think? Yeah. Who were you thinking? Who was your tip?
No, I thought SGA is probably the MVP. Did you see the Shaquille O'Neal interview with Jokic. Unbelievable. He's like, I just want to keep it real, man. You know, I thought SGA should have been MVP. You know, I love you, but I just want to keep it real, and you know that I keep it real. So yeah.
You know what, mate? I'm flaunting the accent. What accent is that? Which side of America is that from? Is that north, south, east, or west?
I just made it up.
But it was a funny interview because I think a lot of us thought SGA was going to – I think it only fair. They won 60 games. They're the number one seed in the West, and he averaged 30 points a game, like surely. Anyway, it's this time next week we'll know the result for the – we'll be in the conference final, so I'm keen to see. We'll do our tips this week. So Brado will know. I think you're up. I'm not going to be predicting a draw because that might come back to bite me. Although I did nearly get that, as I said. First game is Thursday, TIO Stadium, Gold Coast Suns versus Geelong. This will be a ripper because Gold Coast are hard to beat up there.
Yeah, I'm going to tip Gold Coast.
Ooh, where's the Suns are just outside the 8. It's a big game. You know what? I'm going to tip Gold Coast as well. Sydney versus Carlton, SCG on the Friday. Another ripping game. Jeez Louise.
I'll tip the Swans there.
I will go Sydney. They are flying. I think they've won 5 in a row. Unbelievable form at the moment. Collingwood versus Adelaide at the MCG. Collingwood are back, mate. They are playing some scintillating footy.
Yeah, Collingwood for me.
Collingwood, I'm agreeing. GWS versus the Bulldogs. We'll preview it soon, but, mate, you don't have to tip the Bulldogs if you don't want to tip the Bulldogs because of me.
No, but I think you boys will knock them off. They're they've got a couple of big injuries. Did you see that Josh Kelly and I think Lockie Ash are both out with calves for 6 weeks. So I think you boys will knock them off, honestly.
Well, I hope so. Josh Kelly, they're both big outs. Josh is playing unbelievable footy at the moment. We'll touch on my game a little bit later. Marvel Stadium, St Kilda Freo. Oh, that's a big game.
I think Freo will win that.
I'm going to say St Kilda. They're copping a little bit down here, Joshy. They have, they're a bit of external pressure on them. So off the back of that, I'm going to go the Saints. You boys in Richmond, touch on that. Big 150 for Joshy. I'm going Brisbane, obviously. Essendon versus North, Marvel Stadium.
Bombers.
Yep, I'll go the Bombers. Port Adelaide, Hawthorn, Adelaide Oval.
Port Adelaide for me.
Yep, I'll go Port Adelaide. And finish off the game, Optus Stadium, the round. West Coast, Melbourne. Who you got?
Oh, I think Melbourne.
I'm going to say West Coast.
Wow.
Well, you're already in front. I need to try and peg you back because we could just both go the safe option and I could call my tip first for the rest of the year and you could do yours. So I'm going opposite. We'll preview your game first. We'll go your game. Brisbane,
all right, let's do it.
You guys are playing Richmond. Again, I'm just going to quickly say well done, 150th in case you missed the start of the podcast. Joshy plays his 150th this week, which is an enormous milestone. I'm so very proud of you, mates. We're all very proud of you. We can't wait to see you run out there and kick a snag and hopefully dominate and get the win. So well done again, 150th. You guys, playing Richmond, big game.
Yeah, it is a big game. They would be up and about. As you said, they're copping it a fair bit down there. And after their performance last week, I'm sure they'd be disappointed and ready to make amends. So we're going to have to be expecting their very, very best and going to have to give it a red hot crack because we know that they're going to bring the heat, especially early on. They've been really good in first quarters over the season, actually. I think they've kicked a few goals against some of been up a few goals on some of the best teams in the comp. So, and they obviously beat Sydney, who are number one team in the comp right now. So, not going to take them lightly. Definitely going to be ready for it, and it's going to be a great battle for us.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like most teams this year that have been challenged have really bounced back, and I've got no doubt they'll get up for this contest and want to knock you off. And even historically, I think back to Richmond at the Gabba, they seem to play pretty well there. They won a flag up there in the COVID year, but they seem to play really well at Richmond, at the Gabba. What is you obviously probably had a couple of days to start looking at them. What do you think is the go to stopping them? What are you guys going to try and do to, try and implement your game, but to stop them from being able to score on you?
Oh, I think the way that they love to keep the ball live, we call it. So that is like not getting, when you tackle someone and they get the ball out, that's keeping it live. Like it's play on all the time. And it's like a frantic kind of brand of footy. Adelaide did similar on the weekend. They didn't, they don't want to get wrapped up. They want to keep it going and moving forward so then they can get territory and then get set up off that. So we're going to have to be, we're going to have to tackle well, number one, but then also be strong in the contest because they got some good players in there that can fight and scrap and win the footy. So, that's probably the number one thing I think is trying to stop their handball territory game pretty much by pressuring and tackling well and winning the contest. So, and there's a number of other things. I'm not going to go fully into our game plan yet because obviously playing against them. But yeah, there's a number of other things that we'll try and implement against them on Saturday night, and hopefully we can do that.
Agreed. Do you have is there any updates on any of your boys coming back from injury potentially? Do you have some returning? Because I know you've obviously been hit quite hard.
Yeah, I think Zach Bailey's back either this week or next week. Ashy's back in about, I think, a month or 5 or 6 weeks maybe.
That's massive.
And then I can't remember any others. The other boys have done knees. I know the boys got their surgery done yesterday or the day before. So, yeah, I think that might be it, is it? I'm fairly sure that's it. Oh, Dev Robertson comes back this week, I think, after a shoulder. Good. He's another one.
Yep. Well, getting the troops back, which would be great. Lastly, do you have many people going up for your game? Obviously, you probably have a lot of family.
Yeah, I've got a few coming up. Mum and Dad can't come, actually. He's just had surgery on his back in Melbourne, actually. You should go see him, Adsy. He's probably going to be bored in the hospital for a week or so.
He had more surgery. What for?
Yeah, the same thing reoccurred to his back, so he had to go in and get the same surgery.
Oh, poor bloke. He'd be hating that. So what's he doing? Just sitting on his ass watching TV?
Yeah, I gave him my Netflix login before so he can watch some Netflix, and I told him to watch a few shows. And, he's probably just sitting there now watching all these shows that I've told him to watch.
Get him on a baby reindeer, mate. Do you reckon he's a baby? Reindeer
That's
fan?
a number one show. That was the first show I told him to watch. Baby reindeer.
Do you reckon he would have watched it, started watching it or not?
Yeah, he was watching it. I was talking to him on the phone at 3 o'clock this arvo. That's when I gave him the thing and I said, "You've got to watch Baby Reindeer." And he's like, "All right."
Oh.
He's logged onto it and he's watching it. He's probably watching it as we speak.
So where's he at? I might have to pop in and go see him. The Avenue.
He's at the Epworth, I think. The Epworth.
Mate, wow. I might have to go there and have a look. All right. I'm going to pop in and see him. Can't wait to go see him. Well, other than Panda not being there, you're going to have majority of your family there. Obviously, Kaiser and Larzy will be there as well. Yeah,
Mum, Uncle, David, Kaiser and Lara and Tipper and her sister and boy. Yeah, there's going to be a few people there. I think I've got about 16 or 18 tickets, so hopefully fill all those, mate. There'll be a few people.
Well, mate, I'll be paying attention because I would have finished my game, and I'm sorry I can't be there. I wish I could be there. I'd do anything to be there, mate, to watch you through your milestones. But once again, massive congratulations. I know it's the third time saying it, but we're all very proud of you. I can't wait to see you run out there and dominate.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Our game, we got the Giants. So, yeah, they've lost their last two, which, we seem to be playing teams. Our last, I think, 5 games where we've come up against teams that haven't won the week before. So every time I've previewed an opposition, I start off with, they haven't won the last week, so they're going to come out firing. And it's no different this week. Got no doubt the Giants will come out firing. I mean, they've had 2 tough losses their last 2 weeks, and, I personally think they're a top 4 side and their best is as good as anybody's. And even, playing there at their NG Stadium is what it's called. Yep. NG Stadium. They're going to be very, very, very hard to beat. I think it's a really good challenge for us to see, to see if we can keep playing our brand and bringing our style that we want to bring and how we played on the weekend to try and carry that over and match up against a team that's going to be, in my opinion, a top 4 side. So really, really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive or cracking contest, I think. And I know you boys love getting to Canberra and playing down there in the cold, or up there for you. Are you looking forward to that? Have you checked the weather out? Do you like playing in the cold? Give us a bit of a rundown.
Well, we're playing in Sydney. We're not in Canberra, Joshy boy. We're playing.
Are you playing in Sydney?
Yeah. We're not in Canberra.
That's rare.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know. We don't usually play there. So the good thing this week, actually, which is quite rare for us, you talk about rare, is our whole squad travels because we've got the VFL game in Sydney as well. So we're all traveling together, and I think we're staying essentially. We're staying. Might be staying at the same hotel. I'm not overly sure, but the whole team's together. So as you know, when boys travel together, the camaraderie and the closeness and togetherness is what we all look forward to. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the week. I haven't really, to answer your question, I haven't checked the weather because it's in Sydney, but my father-in-law is going to be there, so I can't wait to see Wazza. I'm going to catch up with him, and got some of Kimmy's family coming to the game. So yeah, looking forward to it, mate.
Well, that's my mistake. I thought you were playing in Canberra for a second because we always play the Giants in Canberra every year.
Yeah, well, last year we didn't. We did. My bad. No, we did. We played them in Canberra last year, but we played them. Mate, I've played them everywhere. I've played them in Melbourne, Canberra, Ballarat, and Sydney. We've played them in Sydney as well. In your last year at the Bulldogs, we played them in Sydney. So, yeah. We did. Remember we got that really cool photo with Georgie on the boundary line?
Oh, yeah.
Me and Georgie.
Yep.
Yeah, speaking of Georgie, wow, she is growing. It is crazy. When was the last time you seen Georgie?
2 weeks ago at the netball. When she tapped me on the shoulder and she was like, "Hey, Joshy."
You might see her this week because the girls play this week. They play Friday?
Sunday.
No, Sunday. Big game for them too. I mean, a little bit of netball talk here, but in my opinion, they should be 3-1. They should have won their first 3 games. They won one of those games. And obviously got blown out on the weekend, which wasn't ideal. But yeah, they've left a little bit out there.
Yeah, they have. The first 3 games, definitely. I feel like they put so much effort into those games, and the extra time game against the Swifts was a bit of a dampener. And the last couple of weeks have been against the Vixens and Perth, and they're going to be probably 2 of the best teams in the comp this year. So it's been a tough run for them, but hopefully they get back on the winners list this week.
I hope so. Speaking actually of netball, a funny little story for you. On Friday, I went out to watch Port Melbourne VFL play against Coburg. I went to go watch Robbie play, and I was with Charlie Clark, the grub, and Cooper. And anyway, we went out for dinner in Albert Park near Grub's house, and we're eating dinner, and I seen a couple of the Adelaide Thunderbird girls walk in, and I was like, oh, that's a bit of a coincidence. I said g'day, and then anyway, the whole team walked in. So I said g'day to Tilly, so Matilda Garrett. She obviously played at Collingwood, and I obviously know her quite well there. So we had a good chat, and right before I said see her to get her, before she went to go sit down and have her dinner, I was like, oh, can I ask a favour? Can you tell Shamira Sterling that she is an absolute superstar, and I think she's the best player in the comp? Anyway, I was sitting eating dinner, and she clearly told her because my back was facing him. And 2 minutes later, I hear Shamira say, "Adam," and I turn around, and I think she gave me a love heart and said, "Oh, thank you." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, Shamira. You're a freaking superstar." For those who haven't watched Shamira Sterling play, she is a superstar, and even at the footy club, one of our physios, Adsy, he has a bit to do with the Melbourne Mavericks, and he has just been, watching a bit of netball. He's pretty much watching most games and starting to learn. And after the weekend's games, he watched obviously Shamira play because they played the Mavericks, I think, on the weekend. He came to me and said, this is even before I even told that story. He goes, "Mate, Shamira Sterling is a superstar." I was like, "Mate, get this." And I told him the story, and it was quite funny. But yeah, mate, she is an absolute star. Yeah,
she is. One of the reasons why the Thunderbirds are so good is because of Shamira Sterling and a lot of other players too. But she is an absolute weapon. Best player in the world, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was quite funny that I actually got Tilly to say that, and Shamira called me over. Hopefully she's a fan of our potty and a fan of our work on the footy field. If there's no more footy for you this week, if there's nothing more to talk about, we move on to our two segments.
Our two segments, mate. Let's get into it. Why not? Underrated. You can go first this week, just in case I steal yours.
No. You go first. I want to hear what you say.
All right. Well, my guy is someone we've actually already mentioned. You mentioned him earlier about one of the stories of the week. But Matt Guelphy, I feel like he's playing a significant role for the Bombers at the moment. He's kicked 3 goals on the weekend. I think he had game high tackles, or maybe one below the game high, and 6 tackles. And some of the pressure that he's putting on, unrewarded stuff is definitely going a long way to the way that the Bombers are playing at the moment. And guys like him, Jakey Stringer as well, seeing him run 50 metres, sprinting 50 metres to try and chase someone down, late in the game when they were up and you didn't have to do it. Like, things like that are so infectious in that group. And you can tell that they're really playing a good brand of footy, as we mentioned earlier. So Matt Guelphy's mine because I think he's playing a really important role.
Love it. I love it. I had a few that, there's a few names that came to mind. I was umming and ahhing because I do like it. I love my teammates, but I always want to branch out. But I'm going to stick with one of my teammates. And I'm going to say James Harms. And the reason why I'm going to say James Harms is because of that, what you just mentioned. You mentioned all the unrewarding stuff that you kind of see that the general fan might not see. All you see is the sexy stuff, if you want to call it, the goals and the stats. But I think his move to us was a very underrated move. And it wasn't real. It was kind of glossed over in a way. It's just, Harmsy's move clubs, blah, blah, blah. But I think, I see what he does week in, week out. I see the impact he has on the boys. And, as I touched on earlier, his experience and his cool, calm collectiveness that he brings week in, week out is so, infectious. The word that you use, it is infectious. And it goes through the group and the boys love him very much. He's a character, mate. He's one of the great men you'll meet and love having on our footy club. It still hurts me that he was on that Melbourne side that beat us in that grand final. But I love having him at our footy club. And his footy the last 3 weeks has really spoke volumes of how he is as a player, but how he has a massive impact on our footy club. So James Harms is mine. And I know he'll be listening and he'll absolutely love this and he'll be smiling from ear to ear when he hears this. So, Harmsy, a bit of love for Harmsy. Bloom of the week.
Yeah, good too.
You start, mate. Bloom of the week.
Bloom of the week. I reckon you'll like this one. And I don't know if you've got this one, but I'm going over to America and it's happened today. It's Bronny James. He's 3-point showing today in the NBA draft combine. He started with 12 from 12 and finished with 19 from 25. So I was watching the video of him shooting it and, mate, he didn't miss. He shot 12 in a row and everyone's like, this guy's like automatic, like you, automatic from free throw line. And he finished with 19 from 25. So really good performance and he's my bloom of the week. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Love it. No, I love it. I did see that. I think that's going to get his draft stocks up there because his college season probably wasn't the greatest season. So speaking of that, actually, did you see the draft lottery?
Yeah.
Mate, I have said since I've known about draft lotteries, I'm not a fan of draft lotteries. And it's just even more evident after the results. So for those that don't know, the Atlanta Hawks, who essentially missed the playoffs by 1 spot, because of the draft lottery, ended up getting picked out first and they get the pick 1 versus the Detroit Pistons, who have had historically bad seasons, who had the worst record, fall from pick 1 to pick 6. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's got something to do with my little question at the end that I'm going to ask you about. Like, I said last week, I've got to ask you something funny.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk about it a bit later.
All right. Well, my bloom of the week, I'm going to go stay on the footy field because I just think this guy had a massive, significant impact on me, and I just want to give him more love. He's Callum Ward. Well, Wardy's 300th game, and not just his game, but just his career. He's my bloom of the week. I love the fact that the AFL celebrated him throughout the week because, as I said, severely underrated. The impact he's had on not only the GWS Giants, but so many people involved in footy is enormous. So he's my bloom of the week.
I like it. So is there anything else before I ask you or talk about what I've got here?
Nah, mate, I'm waiting for this rip snorting question.
Before we get into it, I've got to thank Brooke and the team for all their support.
Always.
Obviously, Blooms of the Week. Thank you. All right, we're getting into it now. So after our game on the weekend, I'll set the scene. So you know how you go back to the hotel, you have dinner, you sort of sit around, you talk a little bit. I was sitting there with Darcy Wilmot, Oscar McInerney, Harry Sharp, a few other boys, Jackson Pryor, Harris Andrews joined us later on. Ryan Lester came a bit later on. Eric Hipwood came later on. We sat there, mate, no joke, for 5 hours talking about conspiracy theories.
Oh, wow. Here we go.
We were listing conspiracy theories. And one of them was the NBA draft lottery.
Wow. Okay. And what's the theory?
Well, what do you think? Do you think it's a conspiracy theory, or do you think there's anything behind the lottery?
I would say it wouldn't surprise me if there was, purely because the amount of times you see a team fall from the worst record and having the biggest chance to have pick one, go to, for example, pick 6, pick 5, it wouldn't surprise me.
Do you think the earth is flat?
No.
Any reason why?
I'm a believer that the earth is not flat. I think geez, you really hurt my brain here, mate. I think the fact that I've seen, those photos from outer space and it shows the earth is round. So that's my thoughts.
Yep. Do you think any celebrities have covered up their own death or faked their own death to get out of the limelight?
I'm going to say no, because I can't think that they would stoop to that level to do that. So no.
What do you think happened to the plane that went missing? Have you heard about the conspiracy theory there?
No, I haven't. What is it?
Some people think that MH370 actually got reflown as MH17, which was the plane that got shot down over the remember the one that got shot down?
Yeah.
So people think that was the plane that got shot down, which is crazy.
What the heck?
What else have I got for you? Yeah.
Cold.
Mate, we were talking about this stuff for ages. I'm not even joking. I'll give you one more. Chemtrails. Do you know what chemtrails are?
No.
So you know those planes that fly and through the air, they have the fog that comes out the back? You can see it, so the trails. People think that they're chemtrails, so they're loaded with things that change weather, things that go into the air and make you breathe different things. Have you heard about them?
No, I haven't.
Anyway,
no.
That's my segment.
Mate, I want to know, what are your, just briefly, what are your thoughts on those?
I've never even thought about whether it's got chemicals in it, but I think that potentially it might have something in it that's doing something. Why do we die? Why do most people die under the age of 100?
I couldn't answer that for you. I've got no idea.
Why can't we live for 250 years?
Mate, I have no idea. I have no idea. All I do is kick the footy around, run around, and, play Pokemon on my Game Boy, watch basketball and NFL, and that's it, mate. So
I wonder what Brado thinks of all these things if he does think about them.
Before we finish with, the question, because we've got to finish with the question for the prize winners, what could the question be? Maybe you come up with a question.
Yeah, I'll come up with a question, but we've got to announce last week's winners before we do that.
Yeah,
and
that's what you do.
It's a good lead in. So last week's winners are Erin Noon. So she said, "Hey boys, Bulldog member and long-time listener here. I've never missed an episode, and this includes when you used to be on and off pod. I've just created my first ever YouTube account purely to be able to comment on these videos. I usually listen to the potty on Spotify. Josh wears the triangle-shaped jocks or undies, as Adsy called them. He specifically wears the Nike ones on game day that are with the sporty material. Ads is an in-betweener because he wears briefs. When he wears underwear, sometimes he struggles with the wedgies due to his big bum, which Kimmy likes."
Yes, love it.
And Brado, she's also added in, Brado also wears briefs and thinks that the triangle ones suck. Keep up the great work. Look forward to seeing you both at Marvel Stadium for our clash against each other. So she's one of them.
Nice.
And then we've got Little Man 8510. Dunks wears Nike jocks, same thing. Please answer in the next potty. So, Ads, this is a question for you from our winner. Ads, when he was at the Pies, made a statement, or there was a statement that got released saying that you always used to wear red jocks on game day. Is this still true?
I used to, not anymore.
Okay. And he also says that he wishes you were still at the Pies. I model the way that I play off his game. He's an absolute legend.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
So they're our two winners this week of the prize pack.
Love it. Well, can you come up with a question then for this week? What was the first conspiracy theory that Josh asked me?
Yeah, and give us your thoughts on that conspiracy theory.
Okay, done.
Or give us your thoughts on a couple of them if you want.
Can't wait to see where this podcast goes. We're going to start being experts on the world. Well, I guess that leads us into Brado.
Change it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, as we said, we love hearing Brado. So jump in when you want, Brado. Fire away.
I'm not getting into the conspiracy rabbit hole. And I'll move things along because I can see Ads' brain is shutting down. We'll jump into, I did a deep dive onto games, records and milestones. So Dunks in his 50th game versus Richmond got a win. Dunks in his 100th game versus Essendon got a win. So undefeated in milestone games. Ads, game 50 was against Carlton, got the win. Game 100 against Gold Coast got the win. Unfortunately, game 150 against Freo got the L. So if Dunks gets the win, you go ahead. But then Ads got the win against Gold Coast. So
in the 200.
In the 200.
Yep.
So you share your 150th with Jesse Hogan and Jack Martin. And there's been 1,334 150 game players to date in AFL VFL history. So Shadow Brain was the 13,142nd player to take the field in his debut. So if you extrapolate the numbers, 10.15% of AFL VFL players in the history of the game has played 150 games.
Wow.
5% have played 200 games with just the 669 players. Knock on wood, I don't want to say any players that are approaching 250 games, but there's only been 283 250 gamers. So that's 2.15%. And then I had to keep going because Ads was talking about Callan Ward. 103 players have played 300 games, which is 0.78%.
That's insane.
Which is pretty wild. Round out with a couple. It's going to be 13 degrees in Sydney, so pack a jacket.
Beautiful.
And Guelphy had the second most tackles for the night, but he is playing his 100th game this week, so that rounds out all the milestones.
Well done, Brado. You're a star.
Maybe there's a conspiracy theory between the Lightning and GWS game and how that all went down.
Oh, yes.
Oh, good shout.
Yes.
Good shout.
Good shout. That we need another podcast for that. Well, what were your thoughts of that, Joshy? What did you think about that?
Well, I didn't see it, so I just heard about it. So I was a bit like,
I was the same.
Thought it was a bit weird.
Yeah, Kimmy explained to me, and I tried to put myself in that situation if I was a player myself, and would have been like, nah, this is weird. I'm not going back out there.
Well, it reminded me of the when we played against Melbourne and the lights went out, so we went into the rooms, both of us, but then they came out earlier. And then they had a bit of a run on in the last 15 minutes or whatever. But anyway, another good episode, mate. Cracking one.
It was another good episode, mate. Brado dominated. And you know what? I'm going to finish because I'm going to say it for the 5th time. Good luck this week, Joshy. 150 games. I'm very proud of you. We're all proud of you. Brado's proud of you. Tommy's proud of you. Brooke's proud of you. Your family's proud of you. As Brado just said, what was it? 6% or 10% play 150 games, and now you're one of those. There you go, 10.15. You're now one of those. I can't wait to see how you go. It's been an unbelievable career so far. I know you've still got a long, long, long way to go, but well done again, 150. And thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thanks, Adsy. Cheers.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Brookes Blooms, your all-in-one landscaping solution.
Brookes Blooms' 3-step landscaping experience offers a seamless journey from design to construction and ongoing care, ensuring your outdoor space thrives year-round.
Visit brooksblooms.com today to embark on your landscaping journey, where every step is a step towards a vibrant and beautiful outdoor entertaining space.